Hello and welcome everyone to another APAC Developer Office Hours. So for those of you guys that are joining us for the first time, this is your opportunity to join us live and ask us questions on Android development. You also have the opportunity to post questions on Google Moderator. So if you go to the Plus Android Developers Google Plus page, you'll see this particular event. And you'll be able to go follow the link to developers.google.com/live. You'll see our event there, and there's a moderator page at the bottom of that event page. So you can post some questions, and we answer them live. So let me introduce our team for today. Firstly, we have Anirudh Dewani from Hyderabad.
Hi, guys.
Then we have Tony Chan joining us from Hong Kong.
Hello, everyone.
And I am Anchor Cotwell, and I'm joining in from Sydney, Australia. So unfortunately, we weren't able to run a hangout last week, so there was a bit of a gap. But I'm really glad you could join us today, and we can resume normal scheduling. So we've got a number of questions that have been posted to the Google Moderator page. And we're just going to go through them one by one. Let us try and do something a little bit tricky and share our page, the moderator page. Let's see if we can get that to happen. And so let me go screen share and Android APAC Office Hours.
Cool. I can see that.
Excellent. Good stuff. So, this is last week's one, so that's a little bit embarrassing. Let me flick to this week's one and do the screen share again. Apologies for that. All right, so here we are. So let's just go through these one by one. The first one is from Ryan from Edmonton. Tony, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So what is the best practice recommended method for implementing push notification in enterprise apps specifically? So we have something called C2DM, and now we officially launch it in Google I/O, what we now call Google Cloud Messaging. So so it's really a reliable way to do push notifications. So we have documentation on our website, and I think if you Google GCM or Google Cloud Messaging, you should be able to find the documentation.
Cool.
I
think we've lost Ankur.
Okay, so I guess anyway you can take the second question before. Okay, I think
Ankur is
back.
Yeah, my apologies for that. I actually don't know what happened, but I'm back. So, next question. My question last week was not about the I/O 2012 app, but the issue on the spinner. The app is an example showing us that it is not working with the source code provided to us. May I have a follow-up this week? So just some context about that. Last week we had a question about using the spinner in the action bar, so the content control, and with the view pager. Hi there, Andrew.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
Good, thank you. So Fung had raised some questions about basically saying when I use my spinner, the spinner drop-down will change pages. But when I actually swipe across pages, it doesn't update the spinner for me. So Anirudh, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so I think the view pager is not wired up to spinner so that the view pager events are propagated back to spinner. So there's one thing you can do is you can try obtaining so when you swipe and move to a certain fragment, you can try obtaining the item from the spinner adapter, which is basically what's backing up the spinner. You can try obtaining that fragment from the spinner adapter, the position of the fragment, and then manually call spinner.setSelection. And provide that position to the spinner. So I think that should change up the spinner view. But you may want to check if the event is again fired back and tries to again, switch to that fragment. In that case, you can override that event to say, hey, it's a swipe, so don't really change the fragment.
Fair enough. Thank you. Hey, Andrew. So since you're here live, did you have any questions for us before we move on to the moderator?
Not today. No, I was just kind of listening in today.
Okay, no worries.
Cool.
I'll just screen share again the set of questions. So Abhi had also asked us some questions last week, and we didn't have the questions, the answers available for him live at the time. So I asked him afterwards to post them on the moderator so that we could answer them in the next office hours. So let's look at his question. He said, thanks for the follow-up on this. He had two questions. What is the optimal way to get the existing fragment from a view pager? That's question number one. And question number two is, what is the difference between a view animator and a view flipper? Okay, so first question, what's the optimal way to get the existing fragment from the view pager? The view pager can actually give you can get the ID of your fragment from the view pager. That's the one that's currently being displayed. And then you can use your fragment manager to basically go and pull that fragment itself. Now I remember Abhi had also had some questions around, well, if I've already instantiated a bunch of fragments, how do I ask the view pager to go return me those fragments? Now you have to be a little bit careful here, because the way the view pager works is that it actually will instantiate those fragments when it needs to, and it'll keep bits and pieces of them around depending on whether you're using a fragment page adapter or a fragment state page adapter. So there's two ways you can actually try and fetch these fragments that have been pre-instantiated. The first is that when you instantiate the fragment, add it to your fragment manager using a tag, give it a name, and then later on you can query the fragment manager to go return that particular fragment. The other way you can do it is that when you instantiate your fragments, you can track it in your own array or vector or map yourself and hold on to it there. So when you need to go and fetch it, you can go and return the one that's already been instantiated. So that's question one. Question two is, what is the difference between the view flipper and the view animator? Well, the view animator is actually the base class for the view flipper. So the view flipper is a specialized version of the view animator. And it's really there so that you can have a set of views that you can really go from one to the next and have some sort of animation play. So the view animator allows you to specify things like which particular animation you want to use when you transition from one view to the next. View flipper itself actually specializes in the sense that the main thing that it can do is that you can actually say, hey, on a specific time interval, go to the next view automatically. So you could say maybe every 5 seconds, it might be a photo gallery app, right? So you might be wanting to show a slideshow. So you can say every 5 seconds, go to the next view. So the view flipper just kind of provides some of that nice stuff for you in terms of the timing. Before we just wrap that question up, there is actually something called a view switcher as well. The view switcher also has a base class of view animator. The view switcher is special in that it only supports 2 views, whereas the view flipper supports 2 or more. Now, the reason you might use a view switcher is literally when you're just toggling back and forth between those 2 views, but the view switcher also allows you to specify your own view factory. So by doing that, you can choose how you instantiate it and use a factory pattern to implement it that way. All right, thanks for the question, Abhi. Just switch back to the questions, and we have Jack. When will Google revise the API for serving maps on fragments? Right now, we have to resort to workarounds using map activity, and this makes the code ugly. To be honest, this is a question that's incredibly popular. We get it all the time. We don't have anything to announce, but it's something that the engineering team is certainly looking at, but there's no announcements around this. So right now you are stuck with using the map activity. Okay. Next question from Vimal. What is the optimal way for adding multiple fragments under a single tab in the tab view with backtrack functionality on the back button? Right now I'm facing an issue with the back button when there are two fragments loaded under a single tab for two tabs. Okay, so I'm trying to make sense of this. Tony or Anirudh, do you guys want to chime in on this one at all?
Well, one thing about the back button is for sure you need to add, when you add those new fragments, you need to have them put into a transaction so that when the user hit the back button, it will roll back all the changes. That I think if that's Vimal's question. So anyway, anything to add to that?
I didn't quite get the last statement in the question.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you have APIs available of add to backstack to how you want to manage, and only that's something that goes through a commit will actually go into the backstack. So you can press back on it to go to the previous fragment.
Yeah, and there's also overrides that you can implement in your activity to say on back button pressed as well. So if you want to specialize even further, just keep in mind that that override came into API 10, I want to say, but it might have been a different API version. So, but certainly add to backstack is there. The only other thing that I'll add is that we've made this a little bit nicer in Jelly Bean. You can now specify backstack navigation behavior through XML. So in your layout files, you can actually there's an XML attribute where you can say that basically what you're saying is when you're on this particular element and you hit back, which one should it go to, which view should it go back to. Okay, back to the questions. All right, how do I make my hardware device, and they said HTC, available for testing instead of using the emulator without sending my app to the Android market? And I guess this person means the Play Store now. Tony, do you want to grab this one?
Yeah, sure. So in general, you can do testing development using Eclipse and using the ATT plugin. So for testing using a real phone, you need to enable USB debugging on your phone. I wonder whether people can see this or not. So
yeah, we can see that.
Yeah, it's under settings. There is an option called Enable USB Debugging. So once you enable that, you just plug your phone through USB to your laptop or desktop. One thing about Windows environment, you may need to install a driver for that. And but other than that, you can just use Eclipse, plug in USB, and debug through your real phone. So.
Cool. Thanks, Tony. All right, the next question is from Abi again, and I intentionally didn't cover, in my previous answer, didn't cover a particular topic because I was waiting for this question. And it's basically, what's the difference between the fragment pager adapter and the fragment state pager adapter? And also, when should either of them be used? So basically what it is that the fragment pager adapter, when the fragments are no longer required, what it will do is relinquish the view hierarchy for that fragment, but it'll keep the fragment around. In the case of the fragment state pager adapter, what it will do is actually call save state on the fragment, and it will release the fragment itself. So when the fragments again needs to be reinstantiated, what it will do is restore the state that it saved earlier. Now, that's a reasonably subtle difference, but basically what it is, it's a trade-off between performance versus memory requirements, memory usage, sorry. So a fragment pager adapter, because it only relinquishes the view hierarchy, it stays resident in your app, so it's obviously consuming more memory. But it means that when that fragment is required again, it has to do less work to go and show that fragment. So that's one that performs slightly better. But because it consumes more memory, it's less scalable. And that's where the fragment state pager adapter comes in, where if you have lots and lots of fragments, you're better off using the state pager adapter, which is going to be more aggressive about relinquishing memory. So it's a bit of a trade-off. See how many fragments you're expecting to have in your app. I wouldn't even say that there's a magic number, but have a look at it. I'd say if you've got more than a handful of fragments that you're displaying, then move to the state pager adapter. Otherwise, otherwise stick with just the pager, the fragment pager adapter. Okay. Next question. Considering I've been living under a rock for the past 6 years, geez, that sounds very uncomfortable. But how aware do you guys recommend I get started on developing for Android devices? Anirudh, how about you take this one? You're on mute, Anirudh.
All right. So we have plenty of documentation and a lot of resources on developer.android.com. You can go there. We have some Android U classes that give you basics, and there's a lot of stuff on what Android is and the framework components and the runtime and the libraries available to you. So I think just going to developer.android.com is a good start. Also, we have plenty of videos on YouTube, and there are a lot of resources around which you can check out. I think that would be a good place to start. That would be our developer site.
Yeah, adding to that, I think in terms of designing Android-style application, we have under developer.android.com, we have a specific session called /design. So it has tons of information about how to design a really Android-style application as well. So make sure you check that out. In terms of online resource, Stack Overflow, there are a lot of questions answered, Android questions get answered there. So you probably can find a lot of answers from Stack Overflow as well.
Yeah, look, I've just shared the entry point for our developer.android.com training site, and over there we literally show you how to build your apps from the ground up. So the only step that you need to take prior to this is setting up your development environment. And again, if you go to the tools section, you'll find it there. And you need some familiarity with Java. The rest of it, the Android side of it, is you can learn about from this page here. So this is the place where I recommend everyone goes to basically start learning. Okay, now we have Hemant on the Hangout here. Hemant, have you got access to a mic? No? Okay, so he's chatting and he's asking us some questions about is there an easy way for remote debugging? And it looks like Anirudh's been working with him. So Anirudh, do you want to just walk us through the question and the answer?
Yes, so the question is, and I'm still trying to understand what's the environment that Hemant has there. So from what I can gather, he has a Linux box, and the device is available over the internet. So I was explaining there is DDMS and ADB. These are some of the tools that help you connect to devices. And ADB can work over SSH with port forwarding. That's one way to debug a remote device. So you may have your device attached to a laptop near you, and your code base lives, or your APK lives in a different machine, and you can use ADB over SSH to deploy remotely and debug. There is also ADB over TCP, which allows you to connect to a device over the same subnet. And ADB over TCP, I think, requires you to plug in the cable first, and then say ADB mode is TCP, and then you can plug the cable out, and then use the IP address to connect. So, and if there's something you want to clarify about your environment, please go ahead, and we can answer based on that.
Yeah, very cool. So he said it's clear. Okay, that's fantastic. The next question: what is your stand on native versus HTML5 apps? Again, from Hemant Live. Tony, would you like to take this one?
I guess like we really it really depends on your applications, like what kind of features you need for your particular application. So the strength of like native apps is it has a tighter integration access to sensors in your phone, and which HTML5 is catching up, but I think it's still like native apps can do a better job in terms of accessing like different sensors on your phone. If that's what you need in your particular application, probably you may want to consider more on native apps. But HTML5 application, the benefit is you can reuse what you develop already for desktop web application, so you can we use a lot of the web stuff you have already through WebView. So I guess it really depends on your environment, what you already have, and what kind of features you are planning to add to your application.
Yeah, I might just add on that there is no one-size-fits-all. So when you ask this sort of question, I can't say that it's very clear-cut that you should go one way or another. Depends what's important to you. Depends what you can put your priorities on. Certainly, native apps will tend to be very responsive. They'll tend to be faster. I mean, typical web technologies, tend to refresh the whole page. And that sort of thing. So you can certainly put the work into your web app to make it give a native experience, or at least give an experience that the user feels is native. But it depends where you can commit those resources.
Yeah. I guess another key thing is like to make sure you have an Android style app. I mean, it doesn't matter what technology you're using, ensure the user experience have a good Android user experience. I think that's also very important.
Yeah, so I guess, Tony, what you're referring to are things like the action bar, better uses of the back button, and those sorts of things that really give it an Android look and feel.
Yeah, even the choice of graphics like icons, like we have our own style of like buttons and things. So so make sure you build an Android style application in our platform.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thank you. So final question on the moderator is how do I take a picture of the content of WebView completely? And he's posted well, it could be a she. They've posted a link to a Stack Overflow page, which is about programmatically taking a screenshot of a web view when that web view is rendering some Flash content. And what the Stack Overflow thread said was that they were getting effectively black boxes where the Flash content lives. I actually don't know of a way to do this. I don't know if Anirudh or Tony know how to do this, but I don't know of a way to capture that Flash content when you take a screenshot.
Yeah, I have no clue either.
No.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's Flash is one of those specialized pieces of technology, and I suspect that through various optimizations, it's rendering in ways that might make it harder for us for you to be able to grab these screenshots. I would suggest have a look at what happens when you do it through DDMS, through the Eclipse tools. If you can get away with that, then that might be the solution you're looking for. It's certainly not programmatic though. Now Hemant wants to start a flame war about whether HTML5 is going to beat Flash in the long term. I think we try to avoid controversial topics, Hemant. So it's a matter of opinion. Who knows? I'm just going to go back and check if there are any more questions that have been posted on the event. It doesn't look like it though. Is there anyone else that's live that would that has any questions? No. All right. Well, in that case, it's a fairly short one today. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again next week, same time, and we look forward to seeing you then. We'll obviously post the moderator link beforehand, so make sure you get those questions in. We had some interesting questions today, some fairly technical ones, so keep them coming. And on that note, thank you very much. See you later.
See you.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.